Alright folks, welcome to the video. I'm going to go through a couple of raid builds that I commonly use, or my raid groups commonly use, so that we have a general idea of what we're working with, and we're going to start off with a TP Overwatch build. So generally go with crossbow for most of my builds. I use the pinprick. I like the way it fires. It's got perfect first blood on it. I like my rail splitter. Shoots like a laser beam. For the build, we want 4 pieces of True Patriot, got Opportunistic on the backpack, and Overwatch on the chest. The reason we do that is they both offer a buff to damage for the entire group or raid that you're running with. So for the most part, we want weapon damage, critical chance, or critical damage on all of our gear. I do have a couple non-optimal pieces of gear, but that's the way things go. Sometimes I haven't been able to find the perfect ones that I want, but they do work overall. The whole point of this is just to put out buffs for the raid. So this is not an optimal DPS build. It's just a raid buff build. So we can see we have weapon damage, critical hit chance, critical damage, opportunistic on the backpack. I do have a non-optimal roll of headshot damage instead of critical hit damage there. Overwatch on the chest piece on a group O. It gives me extra critical hit damage. Critical hit damage and weapon damage on the gloves, or knee pads, and critical hit chance and weapon damage on the knee pads. That does give me an overall 34% crit hit chance, 125% crit hit damage, 151% headshot damage. But like I said, this isn't about doing all the damage you can. This is about doing all you can to help the raid be better. So we've got the marksman rifle, the pinprick, for essentially the range it offers. I do have a non-scope on there so that I can use it at closer ranges. But it says enemies you hit with shotguns and marksman rifles amplifies the damage they take from 10% from all sources. So it doesn't say that it has a cooldown. It really doesn't. Each target you hit, it's just going to work that way. Overwatch, stay covered for 10 seconds, increase you and your allies' total weapon skill damage by 12% as long as you remain in cover or in a cover-to-cover move. So as long as you're staying in cover and you're not getting up and running around, you can pop out of cover to shoot, and it still applies that buff. And there you can see the buff, right? So, and I use the decoy with it because it just keeps enemies away from me. Alright, so we're going to go on to healer build. I use the mechanical animal because it does offer an additional overcharge if you happen to get the last shot on an enemy every 90 seconds. Which is great because as the healer, I need all the help I can, especially right now with the debuff, basically, or the nerf we got to all skills. They all operate at level 30 instead of at level 40, so it's essentially a 50% nerf to all skills. That includes heals. So all of your gear pieces are going to be rolled to skill tier repair skills. This is a non-optimal piece, but it does have empathic resolve on it. I would rather have extra skill haste there instead of weapon handling. But empathic resolve offers repairing an ally increases their total weapon and skill damage by 3 to 15% for 20 seconds, 1 to 7% of self. Now that all depends. 3 to 15 is for the skill tiers. So if you're 6 skill tiers, it's at 15% instead of at 3%. And you're not doing any skill damage, you're barely doing any weapon damage, but you can help on certain fights take down the red ads. So it reduces the press on your raid team, and in general, that's overall good. I'm using the backpack for the FI set, which does offer increased ground control proximity repair from 60% to 120%. Ground control increases you and your allies' total weapon and skill damage by 15% when at full armor. When you repair an ally, you and all allies within 5 meters of you are also repaired for 60% of that amount. So if you stand in a cluster of allies and you shoot a heal across the screen to someone completely on the other side of the map that you're fighting on, or to your tank gets healed, and you and everyone around you gets healed 60% of the amount that you healed your tank for, which is amazing. All healer builds should use the BTSU data gloves for the transference overclock. Grants 15% hive skill haste per skill tier. Detonating the hive refreshes your skill cooldowns and grants overcharge for 15 seconds. If it's skill tier 6, this effect also applies to all allies, and all healer builds should be a skill tier 6. Allies receiving this effect are unable to benefit from it again for 120 seconds. Now, that does have a separate cooldown from the mechanical animal. The mechanical animal can affect every 90 seconds. If you get a kill on a red every night, red, I say red because it's the easiest one for you to take down. Just shoot them in the head until they're dead, or shoot a weak point on like a rocketer, and you get the overcharge for killing them. And so now you've got 2 overcharges that increases your hive to the overcharge max, and it increases your chems to the overcharge max. And if we look here, you can see that on overcharge, the hive does 24 repair charges, 140% healing as opposed to the 100. So you get an extra 20% healing. The range increases amazingly. It'll if you have it in the center of the map on a Morozova fight, you can almost cover the whole map with just one heal hive. Now it'll burn out quick, but you could do it in a pinch if that's really what you needed to do. When it says drone speed, it's talking about the repair drones that come out. It's little tiny mites that just shoot off and smack somebody with a repair real quick. It will give it a lot more health, and it offers an additional 150% skill haste. If you overcharge by breaking your hive, that skill haste helps you get your hive back a lot faster. And here we will check our hive out, and we'll pop it with 36 charges. There's my overcharge, you see it? I am also in the White House, so skill haste is enabled. If I go outside of the White House, that offers a different perspective. It doesn't go quite that fast. But if we do it without the buff, from here, we'll turn this off. Turn off skill haste, we'll back up. Check our hive out. Break our hive. Now we have the debuff, so this is the normal charge speed for your healing hive. It's relatively quick. You can get those charges back up and get your hive back out there if it runs out of charges. It just takes a minute. So we don't want skills inside of our heal hive because they will eat your heal hive very quickly. Once that gets filled back up, I am going to go ahead and change to my Foundry build. This is the Foundry tank that I use. I use a different weapon, but basically we want armor regen on all of the pieces for at least one of the roles. This tank is situational. I have situational tanks. The whole point of them is to take care of certain enemies when it's necessary. This one you could throw the Ravenous on. So during the Morozova fight, you've got Perfect Vanguard You got Protector on the backpack. You got your Ravenous. So this is usable on the boss fight. We'll throw on EMP Sticky. So when you're fighting Morozova and you run out as the tank, you come out from the tunnel, which is the only safe place during the mortar explosion, during the phase where Morozova runs into the cab. You're all safely behind the shield, which gives your raid an extra buff of Perfect Vanguard. Deploying a shield makes it invulnerable for 5 seconds and grants 50% of your armor as bonus armor to all other allies with for 20 seconds with a 25-second cooldown. We use Protector because when your shield is damaged, you gain 5% bonus armor, and all other allies gain 15% of your armor as bonus armor for 3 seconds. As you can see, I've got 2.1 million armor, so that just offers more protection and more survivability for your raid. The reason we use the EMP or Explosive Sticky is it's just to gain her attention. As you see, I haven't done anything with this. It's still proficiency rank 1. My shield is just a basic shield. I haven't upgraded it, but even without upgrading, it's got 14,719,149 health with 179, 178 hit points per second active and 192,451 hit points holstered. So it does have technically 6 skill tiers because I've got 6 armor cores. So armor cores count for your shield as skill tiers. So it will give you that extra bonus. If we go in here, we can see it also has an overcharge. So when your healer overcharges, for the duration of the overcharge, it's got 500% active regeneration, 400% shield health, 40% holster regeneration. That'll help you survive even with the nerf that we're currently experiencing. But again, I use PFE mods just because elites that come up and shoot you in the back, the train counts as an elite, do less damage to you. Okay. So we'll go back in here and we'll pull out where is it? This is my normal DPS build. It doesn't really matter what weapon you use here. You can use capacitor for more crit, St. Elmo's for more damage, Eagle Bearer. Whatever weapon you want to use here is actually pretty good. This is rolling with 60% crit hit chance, 215% crit hit damage. Again, like I said, the capacitor does offer more in the way of crit hit damage. Drops it down to 54% crit hit chance, but raises it to 225 crit hit damage. And that's just because of the inherent mods on the weapon. St. Elmo's is the flavor of the day, so we'll throw that on there. 60% crit hit chance, 250% crit hit damage. It does hit pretty hard. It is a decent build, but again, this is what I use. I've got 3 pieces of Providence Defense for the headshot damage, crit hit chance, crit hit damage. I got the Liquid Engineer for Perfect Bloodsucker when I kill an enemy, and it adds and refreshes a stack of 12% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Max stack is 10. So it's 120% of your armor that can be there on you at any given time, depending on how quickly you kill your enemies. Obliterate on the chest, I could use, like my normal raid group does, I could go and throw on a sacrifice just for the extra oomph. Perfect Glass Cannon, all damage you deal is amplified by 30%, but you take 60% extra damage. It just makes your healer work harder. I do use the Improvised Gloves. It gives me an extra mod slot. Knees again, Providence Defense, and the Grupo for the extra creative damage for the knee pads. Other people will tell you to use Fox's Prayer or Contractor's Gloves, but it's not really necessary. It doesn't add that much to the build. And Fox's Prayer, their extra is damage the target on cover, but it's rifle damage, and I don't use rifles that much, so it wouldn't really be beneficial for me to throw on a Fox and Spare knee pad because I would be losing out more than I would gain. I'd rather have the extra 15% crit damage on the build than not have it. Lefty and St. Elmo's, it's a good combination as long as you chuck a grenade that is not a foam grenade. That actually gives you a pretty decent chance of killing your enemies in a decent time frame. Okay, for the Regen Hasbro build, we're going to go and look at our stats here. Currently only 80% for most of it. On this character, I've got a character with 100% across the board, and I'll go ahead and show you that here in a moment. But you really only need certain resistances maxed out. Shock would be nice if I had that at 100%. Burn and Ensnare are the ones I'm really concerned about for the majority of the fights, because I don't want to get stopped and I don't want to be set on fire. Shock I can deal with. It's just a couple seconds. Not even a couple seconds. It's just a moment or two that you're stuck. So it's all Hasbro and armor regen. I don't have a decent Y'all mask. This is the best I could do, but it does offer 10% Hasbro in addition to the 10% Hasbro and the tribute. I could probably change that mod. Nope, won't do it not right now. Alright, so 3 pieces of Golan for the extra armor. And the armor regen. Got extra armor from the Gila, Point Man chest piece. Again, I use Protector on all my tanks. I use Vanguard on all my tanks. Armor regen Hasbro, armor regen Hasbro, Bellstone for the extra armor regen. If I change these from Golan to I could do 2 pieces of Seska, and that would get me extra 10% Hasbro, which would be almost perfect. But that's the build I use for now. Obviously, I don't have everything set here properly. I'm on the wrong character. It doesn't really matter what mod you put in the 3rd slot there. The range really doesn't do anything for you. You're not going to be using it for anything other than yourself. This build's, again, it's great for what it needs to do. It does its job. TP Overwatch. Got opportunistic. I already did this one. Let's see. Drone Killer. Okay, so Drone Killer is 4 pieces of hardwired. I use the mask, backpack, knees, and holster so I can have Overwatch on the chest and the BTSU data gloves. Again, we're at 6 skill tiers. We want skill damage rolled on everything because we want the most skill damage we can, especially right now. So this is important for the end of the Dark Hours raid. That's primarily what this is used for. The Jammer Pulse. Normally we'll take them out even without Overwatch or Perfect Glass Cannon, which you can also use. You can also use a Perfect Glass Cannon build. But it's still 4 pieces of hardwired, chest pieces, Perfect Glass Cannon with the sacrifice. Gloves are still the BTSD data gloves, so it's basically the same pieces overall. You could put anything in your mod slots here. Skull Haste isn't really going to help you because it's mostly dependent on the mechanic of hardwired. So Pulse, as you see, I've got the orange buff right now. I drop that down, I get the white debuff. That tells me I've got a cooldown on the ability to pulse again, right? So I'm just waiting for that to go away, drop my hive, pick it back up, pulse. You want to hold it so it gets the most area it can affect. All right, drop it down. hold pulse. As you see, it almost covers the entire room here. Pick your hive up. It's a really basic, really easy build. As long as you're in cover, you get that extra damage for your raid. The control room build that we use. Wait for that to come off cooldown. Alright, so my raid group, we use this control room build. With the TDI card custom in your hand, you do have 6 skill tiers. It's just, it works well. It gives you everything you need. I mean, it doesn't have much in the way of damage, but that's not the point of this build. This build is a survival build. So when you're in the control room, as you can see, it says I've got 5 skill tiers at the moment. But if I put this on, yeah, let's stay on my pistol. Yep, 6 skill tiers. See, yeah, I'm exactly where I need to be, but I've got more survivability with 1.1 million armor because of the 2 blue cores, the armor cores that I have on it. The whole build is armor regen and repair skills with incoming repairs mods. The whole point of it is you are your only person in the control room dealing with everything. So as soon as the glass breaks, you deploy your drone. You put your heal hive down as necessary. You can break your hive because you got the BTSU data gloves and refresh everybody's hives that are not near you. You're isolated inside the control room, and you need to survive as much as possible. Incoming repairs on the backpack with the R&K, an extra 20% there. Again, everything is armor regen repair skills. It's just for survivability. You're literally not going to shoot a single thing until after the boss is dead. The boss is dead, the door is open to the control room, and you can go out and tell the raid where the Chunga is, and take care of maybe one ad before everybody's killed everything. Bellstone Mask for the extra 1% armor regen. 2 pieces of Golan for the armor regen. Status effects really doesn't matter. It's a garbage dump stat that I've always been upset that they use Golan as the piece of gear that has status effects on it, because it always rolls with an armor core. Always. If you're going to put status effects on something, it should have a yellow core, because most of the status effects you can apply are going to be from skills. Blue core really doesn't help you in that regard. The whole set is based around status effects as the first piece. Why it never rolls with a yellow core is beyond me. Armor regen and repair skills on the holster. Again, that's the second piece of Golan, just to get to that 1.5% armor regen. I don't care about the third piece, total armor. It doesn't matter that much. The whole point of this is it's got really good healing. You've got the 3 mods for incoming repairs, which give you a decent survivability chance. And then you've got the Emperor's Guard knee pads. I've never found a pair, personally, with armor regen at 1% and 4,925 hit points per second armor regen, but that just means I can't roll a blue core on it or a red core. It just means I have to put the armor regen on there, and Emperor's Guard rolls with a skill tier because it's on Murakami, which is a skill set. And like I said, we hold the TDI card custom. The reason for that is the extra 1 skill tier. If we take it off, we're at 5 skill tiers. We can't overcharge, and we can't refresh hives. So the BTSU data gloves make no sense to build. Again, we're not shooting anything. The weapons don't matter. I use Unbreakable on the chest because if my armor breaks while I'm in the control room, I've got that extra cushion. So I get 90% of my armor repaired instantly every 60 seconds if my armor breaks, which is no big deal. I'm on a heal build. I've got decent heals for my hive, decent heals for my drone, and like I said, as soon as the blast breaks, you deploy your drone, and you just keep doing the mechanics. It's not bad, really. Okay, so we got an FI DPS build that I was working on. The whole point of this is to take advantage of ground control. As long as you're at full health, you're helping your raid. I would personally change out the chest if I had a nice chest piece to go with this with Overwatch on it, and then I'd be in FI Overwatch, make the gloves, FI DPS gloves, but I haven't gotten them yet, so I'm still working with what I have. Use the fixer drone and the restorer hive just to keep yourself at full armor because you're trying to get the ground control, and you can repair an ally with your drone. So if need be, you can send that drone across the map to heal somebody, and then they get those heals, plus you and everybody in 5 meters of you get 60% of that heal that you just gave them, which is always amazing. Even with skills being at 1, 20% armor repair. It's nothing major, but every little bit helps when you're in a sticky situation. All right, so that's it for this character. I am going to swap to my other character, and we're going to take a look. He does have a better Hasbro build, and he's got a couple other builds that are kind of nice for raids. I'm just waiting on this to load. Since this loads, we'll go through some builds. Alright. So this is the build I normally run when I'm doing DPS, and I'm on this character. You can use the Ouroboros, the Capacitor, Eagle Bearer, St. Elmo's Engine, really whatever weapon you want. This offers 52% crit hit chance, 179% crit hit damage with the St. Elmo's, which again is the weapon of the day. Lefty for those situations when you can apply a perfect sledgehammer to a boss or a chunga or something that is going to take a decent amount of damage. 3 pieces of Providence, again for the crit hit chance, crit hit damage to be maxed out as much as you can. I use Liquid Engineer a lot. I love this piece of gear. It offers so much versatility, allows you to survive so many things that you normally wouldn't. I do make the sacrifice for the raid to throw on the tardigrade chest piece, which gives you a blade of nano plating whenever you or an ally's armor breaks. They gain 80% of your armor's bonus armor for 10 seconds. Cooldown per ally is 45 seconds. So the benefit of this is if Bob, Steve, and Joe are running around and Bob's armor breaks, he gets a 45-second cooldown. And then Steve, his armor breaks, he gets a 45-second cooldown. And if it takes a few minutes for Joe's armor to break, he gets a 45-second cooldown at that time. But again, it's every 45 seconds they can break their armor or have their armor broken by an enemy, and now they've got 80% of your armor as bonus armor for 10 seconds, which is amazing. Okay. So I've got weapon handling, crit hit damage, and I'm still at 52%, which is almost in the Goldilocks zone. You really don't want 60% for most of the time, because if anybody's wearing a Coyotes in the raid, they're going to bump your crit hit chance up by 10%, and now you're over the 60% cap. 48 would actually be perfect. It's where I want to be, but I just can't manage to make that sacrifice of the 6% in order to get down there, because then I'm under the 48 because I'm only 4 off, so I'd be at 46%, and it's not good. So Grupo knee pads just for the critical hit damage that it offers. Everything rolled crit hit chance, crit hit damage as much as possible. Headshot thrown in there for good measure. Armor regen, weapon handling. Again, these are not optimal, but I'm in a really good spot. Okay. Here's my Hasbro tank on this one. We're looking at the Hollow Man. It's just a Y'all piece with Hasbro on it. With armor regen on it, it'd be even better. But I don't have a Y'all piece because it's a PvP drop. It only drops in the DZ. So the way I got this was through a named item cache. Protector on the backpack, 3 pieces of Uzina. This is what I should have done on my other characters, rolled Uzina instead of Golan. But at the time, Uzina didn't exist, and I haven't updated that set just yet. Everything rolled to Hasbro armor regen as much as possible. Again, the Y'all piece has that health damage. Nothing I can do about that. I do have 1 piece of improvised, the holster, just for that extra mod, so I get that extra 10% shock resistance. With this particular build, I am 100% across the board. It starts with hazard protection, bleed resistance, blind death resistance, burn, disorient, disrupt, ensnare, poison, shock. That's the end of the resists, and they're all at 100%. I am practically immune to all status effects. When you're running through fire, you do take some ticks of damage because it's fire. There's nothing you can do about that. It just happens, and it usually happens to your bonus armor at that point, so it's no big deal. My control room here build here is almost the same, but I did use a piece of Brazos for that extra skill tier, or sorry, 2 pieces of Brazos for that extra skill tier. I have Empathic Resolve here because I don't have an Unbreakable chest piece on this character, but I will fix that. Again, the weapons don't matter. You're just looking for the TDI card custom to help you over that hump. All right. For this drone killer, I am wearing the Sacrifice for Perfect Glass Cannon. It just gives me an extra little edge, so I don't have to be in cover on this build. My main job is to take care of the drones, not anything else. On my other build, I do have Overwatch just because it offers an extra benefit to the raid as a whole, and so they're all doing more damage. This is a selfish build. It just helps to kill those drones that much faster. Even with the nerf, I didn't notice the difference with this character. I do with my Overwatch character, though. Again, it's due to that extra damage output. Alright, so Negotiator's Dilemma. On Dark Hours, this is important for everybody to be wearing something very similar. The weapons don't matter that much. It's whatever you want to use. I do like the Kingbreaker for the perfect flatline. If somebody's pulsing, which I could throw a pulse on here, just a basic pulse, and now the Kingbreaker amplifies weapon damage against by 20% to pulsed enemies. So that's a wide range of enemies, and they all get it regardless of what I'm doing. And if I kill 3 people with the Kingbreaker, it applies pulse to the next enemy you hit, which hopefully is Boomer. I got the Coyote's Mask for the Pack Instincts. You and all allies gain a bonus based on the distance of the last enemy you hit. 0 to 15 meters, 25% crit damage. 15 to 25 meters, 10% crit damage and 10% crit hit chance. And 25 meters, 25% crit hit chance. 3 people are wearing Coyotes in the raid. You can have them engage at those distances, respectively, and you constantly have all 3 of those buffs. Again, I'm using the Liquid Engineer for the backpack. For the Perfect Bloodsucker, killing an enemy adds and refreshes a stack of 12% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Max stack is 10. So this is the main meat of this build, is these 4 pieces of Negotiator's Dilemma. Use the chest to increase hostile negotiations mark count from 3 to 5, so I can be shooting 5 enemies total, including the boss. And as long as I crit on the boss, I can shoot those other ones, and then I can focus down 1 enemy. As long as I crit on all of the other 4, I can focus on 1 enemy and just shoot, and all the other 4 take that crit hit damage. Critical hits mark enemies for 20 seconds, up to 3 marks total, 5 with the chest piece. When you critically hit a marked enemy, all other marked enemies take 60% of the damage dealt. Whenever a marked enemy dies, gain 2% crit hit damage, stacking up to 20 times. So again, it's 40% crit hit damage that you can get from this, which is, it's just great. And we got weapon damage and crit hit damage rolled on everything, except the gloves. I've got crit hit chance on there. I wanted to get a little closer to 40%. With the coyotes, you want to be closer to 40% than you are to 60% because of all the added bonuses it gives you. 950 to 9% crit damage. So that's the Negotiator's build for the Boomer Room. We do use this build for Gray, Lieutenant Gray. These weapons don't matter as much. The whole point of this is to take care of the shielders. The Punch Drunk for the 20% pistol damage, because we will be using our pistol, the 20% headshot damage. Then we've got 2 pieces of Araldi, again for the headshot damage. The marksman rifle doesn't matter as much. Everything rolled to weapon handling, headshot damage. Crits don't matter so much here. They are useful if you could manage to get a crit, but you've got so much headshot rolled to it that that's what you're primarily focused on. The reason for that is the interactions between the Gunslinger holster, or Dodge City Gunslinger holster, and the Regulus. And we've got a lot of headshot just to make sure that this works. While your pistol is holstered, gain a stacking buff every 0.3 seconds up to 100. When you swap to it, your first shot consumes the buff and deals 10% damage per stack. This deals headshot damage to anywhere you hit. So you can shoot them in the shoulder, and it will do a headshot, which with the Regulus, it doesn't matter if you shoot them in the head or not. It's a headshot because of the holster. Headshot kills create a 5-meter explosion, dealing 400% weapon damage and applying bleed to all enemies hit. So it's going to kill those shielders in one shot. It's amazing as long as you hit the shot. Now, I do have 332% headshot on this build, which is just, it's overkill. I am using the Chain Killer for the perfect headhunter. After killing an enemy with a headshot, your next weapon hit within 30 seconds deals an additional 150% of that killing blow's damage. Damage is capped to 800% of your weapon damage. This is raised to 1,250% if your next headshot damage is greater, or if your headshot damage is greater than 150%, which we have doubled, and then some with this particular build. So primarily, I like to run around with this build in the open world and use the White Death as my primary weapon damage because it's got that extra 137% headshot damage. After killing an enemy with a headshot, the next shot landed on an enemy will be a guaranteed headshot. So you headshot one, and then you can shoot them in the body for the rest of the time. You just headshot kill one red enemy, and you can one-shot named enemies out in the open world. It's an amazing fast build. We're using the Riot Foam Chem Launcher to stop those shielders in their tracks and hold them there for a moment. We've got the Reviver Hive. That's just in case we go down. Again, and we're also using the TAC-50 rifle for the specialization weapon. We rarely ever use this. I don't think I pull it out very often at all. It's just when I have to hit something and break a chest piece or something. This is probably one of the better weapons for that. And I believe that will be all for... we can go through the Striker build. I use Ouroboros on this one with the lefty. A lot of people are using the St. Elmo's Engineer. I do like the Ouroboros with damage to target out of cover rolled on it. Got the Gruppo's Mask, Liquid Engineer backpack, 4 pieces of Striker, all with crit damage rolled on them. We've got 3 create damage mods, and this build is at 47% creative chance, 166% creative damage. But the benefit of it is the Striker's Gamble. Weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up to 100 times. Stacks lost 1 stack loss per second between 0 and 50 stacks, 2 loss per second between 50 and 100 stacks. So the more stacks you have, the faster they go away. But this increases the max stacks from the chest piece increases the max stacks from 100 to 200, and 3 are lost per second between 100 and 200. So between 100 and 200, you lose 3 a second. Between 150, you lose 2 a second. Between 50 and 0, you lose 1 a second. And as long as you occasionally blast out with the lefty, and a grenade if need be, you're almost always managing to keep those stacks up. And the Ouroboros shoots so fast, it doesn't lose stacks that fast because it shoots so quickly. And that will be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Be good to each other. And I'll be on with another video. I'll be live tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central Time. It's 1 p.m. UK, which is when Rabo3639 begins his raids. He is my clan leader, and we go on his time frame. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you later.